Hey there, college sports fans. Well, we could call this an emergency podcast. We keep threatening to do one. We just posted one yesterday. Here we come again because of the breaking news that safeties coach Mickey Conn has been fired, and possibly the bigger headline is that offensive coordinator Garrett Riley has been fired. Not the first time that head coach Dabo Swinney has had to fire a Clemson offensive coordinator. The call comes after a very disappointing season with the Clemson offense struggling with Cade Klubnik at the helm back for his senior year, turning from a Heisman candidate into not even, a thought very early in the season for that award. Let's talk a little bit about it. I'm Bill Zimmerman. This is the Reign Supreme All A Podcast, Season 4.
I'm Daniel Shirley. Bill, I may be reading too much into this. The wording by the release by the football program, the athletic department said Dabo said I'm making a change, doing air quotes, an offense coordinator, and then he called Mickey Conn's a departure. So I don't know if that means maybe Mickey Conn is kind of leaving on his own also to go somewhere else. That's kind of been rumored for a couple of weeks. But I think both of these needed to happen. I've been going back and forth on Riley a lot, and it's almost game by game for the last,
Yeah.
month, year of the whole season. Um, and you kind of say, do you want him to be back? But with the different quarterback, we kind of talked about that yesterday. And I, I'm not surprised either of these happened. I'm surprised more the timing that it actually happened today.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a couple of days. The portal opens Friday,
Right.
so you got moving on this stuff pretty quickly. And who's going to be the hires, we'll find out. But I don't think we should get into candidates either. You and I are not reporters at this point in our careers. We're not on the grounds, boots on the grounds doing reporting. We'll leave that up to the folks who actually cover Clemson, and we'll share our thoughts on it. I know there's a couple out there I would like, but those people have jobs, so I don't know that I want to specifically go that route either. But I'm a little surprised this happened tonight. I am. I thought we were going to be like later in the week if it happened. And I think also the bigger question is anything else coming.
Yeah.
Our buddy David Hood tweeted about this a little while back and had more to come at the end. And does that mean more to come on these, or there's more changes to come?
Yeah.
We don't know. And I'm sure others have done the same thing. Larry Williams reported this as well. I mean, everybody's reporting it now. That Not that the replacements aren't important. They
Oh,
absolutely are, and we've
sure.
talked about that, and we'll talk more about it. But I think right now the bigger question for me is: are these the only two? If these are the only two, and you tell me if I'm wrong, if you feel the same way, I don't see a paradigm shift. I don't see a program shift. I just see, oh, those two guys are out. We'll go, and then we'll replace them with somebody else. I don't hope for anybody to lose their job. I'm not
Sure.
doing that. But I do think there need to be more changes than just these two.
I do too. And I'll say this. If this is the only 1-2 punch that's coming as far as the coaching staff is concerned, if nobody else is going to be parted ways with, maybe there's another departure or two coming, who knows. I will say the only way then to accomplish a shift is to bring starting level players in via the portal and to say, on the day that they sign, this is our starter. This is the number one. This guy is going to line up at the front of the line. There's always a competition for the job, but as of today, going into the spring, he's the starter. And I don't expect Dabo Swinney to say that. That's not the way he has carried himself. That's not the way that things have worked at Clemson. I want to do a couple of things. I want to look back real quick at a couple of other past firings. One would be Brandon Streeter. Remember that day you and I were setting up a podcast. We were going to talk about other things, and
Yep.
as I tended to do, I did one last check of Twitter before we started recording, and sure enough, Brandon Streeter was out, and we started scrambling. That day, we did start looking for candidates, to discuss, and we talked about, hey, we're not going to say any guarantees. We're not reporting this. This is just kind of a wish list. Well, while we're wrapping that up, the Garrett Riley news breaks, and here I am emailing the Maxwell.
Immediately, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, very quickly. And here I am emailing the Maxwell Award to try to get a photo of Garrett Riley and do all those things for the little, bells and whistles that we do. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a name soon. And that's one reason I'm not too concerned about getting into a bunch of speculation about this guy, that guy, the other guy. Here's who's available. Here's who might leave his current job and that kind of thing. Like, I think this is going to play out pretty well. Pretty quickly at least. The second thing, the regression in the Clemson offense this year. I'm going to compare that to Wes Goodwin, who in his second year had a very good defense, top 20 or better, if I'm not mistaken. And that backslide, that dramatic backslide in his third year, cost him his job. And I think that's really what undid it for Garrett Riley. You and I had talked a lot about, is it Riley? Is it Klubnik? Is it a combo of both? How is Dabo Swinney going to make that call? Well, Klubnik is already gone because his easy for me to say, eligibility is done. Now, Dabo Swinney has made a very high price tag maneuver to say this falls on Garrett Riley, and he's out as well. So the third thing I will say looking forward, we're not going to get into candidates, but to me, this opens up the possibility for what I've been wanting, which is the Brent Venables model of 2025's preseason move, where he brought in a quarterback and that quarterback's offensive coordinator. And so that's kind of, if I was going to build a candidate list, and I'm just some armchair guy, but if I was going to build a list, I'd be looking at quarterbacks who are in the portal, their offensive coordinators. I'd be talking to those offensive coordinators through whatever back channels I could. If there are feelers that are, pretty commonplace among a lot of other teams to reach out to players, agents, families, however they're doing these things that are happening when the portal opens at 8 a.m. Friday, and by 9:30 a.m. to 50 great players are off the board to blue chip schools. Whatever those communications are, I would be making those communications. I think that's what can make a huge impact for Clemson next year. Be sure to subscribe at youtube.com/Clemson Kickoff. It's free. It's the best place to catch all our episodes, and it's the best place for you to comment with your reactions. Is that going to be the model that they'll follow? It's hard to say. Dabo Swinney has expressed a lot of faith in Christopher Vizzina, saying it's his turn, saying he's waited it out. He looked decent the last three quarters of that full start that he had against SMU. Rocky first quarter. Well, Trevor Lawrence had rocky first quarters. Deshaun Watson had rocky first quarters. That's okay. SMU was not great competition, but there hasn't been a lot of experience on the board for him, for Chris Denson, for Trent Pierman. You're going into a huge unknown if you are going to elevate from within the room. And you certainly can't bank on Tate Reynolds after an injured senior year in high school coming in as a true freshman, despite being an early enrollee, and just taking the job straight away from there.
Yeah. And here's my thing, Bill, about this. Some of this is are they going to let this coach run a different offense?
Bingo.
Is there going to be an actual change in the offense, or is this going to be a continuation of the quote unquote Clemson offense? Because I feel like, and don't forget Brock Bradley too in that quarterback room, because
True.
he is in that group as well.
I don't think
The
he's
it
coming in early.
feels
I don't remember.
I think he is.
Is
I
he?
think he is
Okay.
actually. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It feels like the last three coordinator hires, or last two coordinator hires. I'm sorry, and we'll see about this one. That Clemson were, well, three: Wes Goodwin, Tom Allen, and Garrett Riley were handed a staff
Yes.
and said, "This is your staff. This is what we do." Now, granted, Wes Goodwin was on the staff, so he was elevated, so it's a little bit different. But I the last two coordinator hires offensively, Dabo said I vividly remember when Brandon Streeter was promoted. This is the Clemson offense. Well, that's okay. It had worked at that point. It had worked. Two national titles. Uh, Streeter recruited Trevor Lawrence. All well and good. But you hire Garrett Riley, and we don't know the answer to this from the outside. Again, is it Riley? Is it the quarterback? Is it the offensive line? Is it the receivers? Is it the head coach? What is it that caused the issues? We don't know that. We're not in the room. But it's clear what Riley ran with TCU, what he ran at Clemson does not compare.
Yeah.
Now, I've said this before, I'm not a football coach. I don't break down film. I don't have time to sit down and break down film. So I don't have time to tell you if what Riley ran at TCU is exactly what he ran at Clemson. I think 90% of the college offenses right now run a variation of the same thing.
Very similar, yeah.
Right. Other than Navy, Army, some of those schools. Texas Tech's a little bit different. So there are differences out there. So which is it? We don't know. But I think we're far enough away from the high-powered, dynamic, fun to watch Clemson offense that it's time to give the offense over to whoever you hire and say, okay, this is your offense. Well, that would lend to believe more staff changes.
Right.
I don't know. I would keep Matt Luke. I would put him in a bubble wrap and we'll, protect Matt Luke at all costs. I don't know that the offensive line has gotten any better, but I think that's recruiting. And we're starting to see his classes start to cycle in. And we'll see the next year or so how that changes with his recruiting.
Especially if they stay healthy.
Right. But there's issues at running back. There's issues at wide receiver. I mean, we just saw Saturday, all the drops in that game.
Yeah.
And I know your two best receivers aren't playing, but I mean, catch the ball, man.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying these people should be fired, but that coach who comes in should at least have the ability to say, yeah, that guy's not going to do it for me. That didn't happen with Garrett Riley.
Right.
He was given a staff and said, this is the staff. That didn't happen with Tom Allen this year. So will it happen? And again, that leads back to not even on offense, but are there more changes coming on defense?
Right.
And that's to me, we don't know the answer to that. And we'll find out, I think, in the next few days.
It would be interesting. I mean, I would think if they're announcing these two right now, and one is apparently a firing and one is apparently a departure, regardless of the exact terms that are being used around Garrett Riley, you've read the release. I was out and about and just walked in and plugged in a microphone real quick so we could get this done. Here's what I'll say. Fairly quickly, Garrett Riley got a new offensive line coach. Like you would think there was some input from Riley that Thomas Austin was not gelling with what Garrett Riley wanted to do, and that was part of it. Maybe part of it is just, hey, you got a chance to hire Matt Luke, you hire Matt Luke, and I'm sorry, incumbent, but love you, man, but we got to make this move. Then we saw midseason last year, Tom Allen Jr.'s role elevated in the secondary. That was widely reported. I think the secondary got better after that. For the most part, you didn't see it against Penn State because you were missing Avion Terrell, you're missing Khalil Barnes, so on and so forth. We saw the ability for Allen to make a move. So I think there's a chance that a new offensive coordinator coming in might be allowed to make that move. I would say there's a chance that Tom Allen and this defensive staff may look more different next year than just moving Tom Allen Jr. into that full-time safeties role. We'll see what they call it, what the nomenclature is. There's been some rumors about a former player being elevated in his role on the staff. We'll see how it all plays out. There's a lot of jigsaw puzzle pieces still to take a place on your dining room table there, so to speak. I want to get into also what this means for the transfer portal. Like if you bring in if you bring Tom Allen Jr. up to a higher level, that probably doesn't get Khalil Barnes to rethink what he wants to do and in regard to being in Clemson or not being in Clemson, because he was around the several weeks that that happened and still elected to go into the portal. But I do think that that offensive coordinator hire, beyond the quarterback thing I mentioned, could really affect. All right, are you trying to get a proven veteran center? Well, an offensive coordinator with new life might be able to do that. Can you get that center and you can tell other players, hey, yeah, we're fixing the offensive line. We're not just banking on guys elevating, but we brought in a center, we brought in maybe another guy, got a new offensive coordinator. Maybe that offensive coordinator brings a quarterback or finds a quarterback he's familiar with, like Gus Malzahn at Florida State, breathed new life into the Seminoles offense by bringing in a familiar figure in Tommy Castellanos, even though they weren't together the last year or two before they joined forces at Florida State. You can generate that kind of energy. People can change their minds on a dime. Maybe you go get that third receiver that you really want. Maybe you go get that tandem running back to go with Gideon Davidson that you really want. So there could be a ripple effect, and maybe you start to look at position coaches as well. Although I tend to think I tend to give everyone else on the offense a little more leash, and I tend to think that if someone else needed to go, we'd have heard about it today. So we'll find out as that approaches. Connect with us on social media. That's at Clemson Kickoff. Whether you're on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, or Facebook, you'll find us there.
You mentioned the portal. Do you really think this changes the quarterback situation? I don't. I don't think they go get a quarterback in the portal. And
I'm
I just don't believe that that's going to be the path that Clemson's going to go down this offseason.
I'll say this, and this again, like you said, we're not boots on the ground reporters in Clemson, South Carolina, with sources inside the program or anything, but just from the outside looking in, I think they have to shop. I think Dabo Swinney, like any other coach, would have to back his guy, because what if the bidding wars get out of control? They escalate too sky high for what Clemson's resources are, for the fact that Clemson has several needs. Tom Allen wants 10 portal guys for the defense. At some point, you have to look around and back out of the Shohei Ohtani bidding, right? Like everybody at some point has to back off of that dream position player that you want. In this case, it's going to be a quarterback for Clemson. I think they're shopping. I do think they're looking. I think they have an obligation out of A, loyalty to Christopher Vizzina, and B, the smaller element would be the optics involved, that you have to express confidence and faith in your guy, because you do want to get a center to come to Clemson, I would think. You do want to get another receiver or two and maybe a running back, and you
A
want to
running
make
back,
sure
yeah.
that Vizzina is spoken of with confidence. You can't come out before your bowl game and say, yeah, we got to, hopefully Vizzina will be happy being a backup again, but we got to go get somebody. Like, you can't say those things out loud as a head coach. And I don't blame Dabo Swinney for playing it the way he has, but I do think there's shopping going on. I hope that it's going to be a tandem offensive coordinator quarterback that come in. I'm pretty biased, so the move with Riley, had they announced that they were keeping Riley, I would feel less emphatic about Clemson going and getting a quarterback out of the portal. But right now, I'd say it's two-thirds. I would say it's almost a. Well, I'll say it's a near certainty that they are shopping for a quarterback, and in whatever permissible back channels that they can. And I think that it's 55, 65% chance somewhere in there that they will bring one in. Will it be that headliner that's
I
going to
hope you're
wow
right.
everybody? I hope I'm right too, and I'll admit that's some personal bias entering the equation, just wanting it to happen very much. But I'm not going to feel wrecked if Christopher Vizzina is a starter next year. I think he did look solid at running through his progressions. That, you know what? That's 3 years in the same offense, and this is going to be a new coordinator coming in. So what's the fit going to be like? It's an unknown with your quarterback staying put and a new coach coming in. I really would love to see, like I said, John Mateer is not going to be QB1 in the NFL draft, whatever year he comes out and he's eligible. I mean, he's not that kind of quarterback, but he was so effective that Oklahoma got into the playoffs.
Well, their defense was really damn good. That's why
Well, it
they got in the
was.
playoffs.
Sure, that's reason A, but I mean, you've got to
but
put points on the board.
Sure, but he took a big step back this year. Now I know he was hurt a lot
Hmm.
too.
He
He
did.
took a big step back from what he was at Washington State.
But before he got
That's
hurt, my goodness, he was
he was
electric.
pretty good.
Yeah.
He was pretty good. That said, I think the more likely outcome is that they find somebody who fits what Vizzina does. And look, we've only seen him for bits and pieces.
Yeah,
And he looked good against SMU. He did not look good at all against Furman.
right.
He did not look good at all against Furman. And other chances he hasn't looked good. Now he wasn't given many opportunities either.
They were
You
short
know,
stints, yeah. And when he
right.
had a whole game to really unpack what's going on, that's when you saw him look good.
Sure. But I think it's more likely they find somebody to try to fit what he does and these other quarterbacks on the staff do. But you can't just keep saying, here's the Clemson offense, and you have to run that.
Yeah.
You've got to get out of that way of thinking. They did it with Chad Morris, and the offense was dynamic and it was electric
It was
and
inventive.
it was inventive and it was there were different plays. And I mean, you tried different things, and
Yeah.
that has not happened for what, 5 years?
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a while since they've been. So, maybe the Clemson offense needs to just evolve into something else and change. And that's okay. I mean, he's done this before with defense. He did it with Brent Venables. He didn't stand pat with Kevin Steele. He went out and said, Brent, here, take this. You're the defense coordinator.
Yeah.
And what Brent did was not what Kevin Steele did. So I think it's time to do that. But I also think it's time, and I know I'm repeating myself. We're not in the room, so we don't know. But it's time to just say, okay, guys, you're the coordinators. You run the show. I'm Dabo. I'll do what Dabo does. I'll go recruit. I'll recruit the portal the way I've recruited high school people.
Yeah.
And get them on campus and show them what it looks like and all the positives that are part of this
Well,
program and all the
no time for
differences.
that really in this
Well,
world, unfortunately. But yeah,
I
I
know,
see your
but you know
point.
what I'm saying.
Maybe it's guys who have already been on campus are at the top of
Sure.
that wish list.
When they recruited the first time.
Exactly.
Right. So it's, but you've got to let these coaches come in and whoever's coming in do their job. That's why you bring in outside people. And he brought in somebody outside with Garrett Riley and didn't work. He brought in somebody outside with Tom Allen, and this year it didn't work.
Right.
So, there's a lot of pieces to how you get players, what you're willing to pay players, all of this stuff in this new era of college football. It feels like Clemson is behind in just about every area of this new era of college football. It's got to get back up to the front of the line.
It does. And one thing you mentioned yesterday too, the timing is critical because all those TV deals, the playoff deals and everything, 2030 is kind of that linchpin year. The only thing I didn't get to jump in and say, I mean, that's only 4 seasons, 5 seasons away now. 2030
Yeah,
will be
right.
5 seasons out. If a guy signed today and redshirted, his senior year would be 2030 season. But keep in mind, it's always taking shape 2, 3 years ahead of that. How
Sure.
how early did we know about USC and UCLA to the Big Ten? How early did we
Right.
know about Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC? And we could do a whole episode on that. And I've just sprung that at the end of this episode where nobody's going to see it. So we'll still maybe
We'll talk
revisit
about
that.
that next time.
But
Yeah.
that timing is critical. And you talked about how Clemson's profile needs to re-elevate in a hurry. And it may be even a little more of a hurry than we talked about yesterday. So it's a critical juncture. Dabo's got to be willing to take risks, play things back because what he's been trying to cling to has not been working. 2 losses, 3 losses, 4 losses, now 6 losses. I mean, wake it up, but get this is no longer a jump start situation. You got to stop using the jumper cables. You got to buy a new battery and redo the distributor cap and all those other things under a hood that I don't really know what they do, but I've heard all the words. So, any last thoughts? I know you got to get run to do Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I just think I go back to, we'll find out what this means. We'll find out, and I you made a good point, and I had thought about that the last time Dabo did this, the hire came pretty quickly after that. I would think the hire comes before Friday for these two jobs. I just am very interested to see if there are any other ones on the staff that are going to change. I think there need to be. I think we've made it clear who we've talked about this pretty much all season since that 1-3 start. Who those coaches are going to be, we'll find out. But I just hope these aren't. I shouldn't say it that way because I don't hope people get fired. I would think for the program to really change, those can't be the only two changes. I think there have to be more changes to get this program back on the right track.
Very good. Check Twitter real quick. Make sure we don't have anything busting loose before we stop this. But seriously, we'll jump back on. We'll add to this while I'm editing if something breaks in the next few minutes. But I do want to let you go get ready for your real job, your day job. But we wanted to bring this to you as quickly as we could, bring our thoughts around the situation. We will keep you updated as things go. And like Daniel said, Friday, transfer portal opens, so we'll be bringing you profiles of anybody that Clemson brings in. Until we speak again, I'm Bill Zimmerman, Reign Supreme Always Podcast, Season 4.
I'm Daniel Shirley, a little shocked and stunned. Go Tigers.